Imagine a man who looks like a warrior from another age. Long hair, tattoos, a smile that could crush walls and heal wounds at the same time. Now imagine that man standing barefoot on volcanic rock, staring into the ocean, whispering a prayer not for fame, but for peace. That man is Jason Momoa. Before he became Aquaman, before Game of Thrones, before the world saw him as a cinematic god, he was a misfit kid from Hawaii with no plan, no money, and a dream carved from salt water and stubbornness. This isn't a Hollywood fairy tale. This is the story of a man who fought to stay wild in an industry built to tame you. Jason Momoa was born on August 1st, 1979, in Honolulu, Hawaii. His childhood was split between two worlds, the serene, spiritual island life of his Hawaiian mother and the rugged, open plains of Iowa, where he lived with his father. The duality shaped him, half ocean, half earth. He often said that Hawaii gave him his soul and Iowa gave him his grit. He spent hours surfing, climbing cliffs, and sketching the patterns of nature. Even then, Momoa felt connected to something bigger, an energy, a rhythm. He was artistic, curious, and deeply spiritual, but he didn't fit in anywhere. The world didn't know what to do with someone like him. That restless energy would follow him forever. The need to move, to create, to break out of boxes. Even as a teenager, he began expressing himself through painting and photography, capturing nature with the same reverence he would later bring to his films. His first canvas wasn't a set, it was the Pacific Ocean. And somewhere between those endless waves and quiet plains, he learned that belonging isn't about place, it's about purpose. Chapter 2. From Drifter to Discovery. After high school, Momoa drifted. He studied marine biology, then switched to wildlife biology, but never stayed long enough to finish. His heart wasn't built for classrooms. He hitchhiked across the country, worked in surf shops, traveled to Japan and France, and immersed himself in Buddhist culture. Then, in 1998, fate struck. While working part-time in a surf shop, he was spotted by international designer Takeo Kobayashi. That chance encounter led to modeling gigs, and soon Momoa was named Hawaii's Model of the Year. But he didn't care about fame. He wanted purpose. During this period, Momoa discovered yoga, meditation, and his love for travel. He learned the discipline of stillness, the courage of patience. Those early experiences abroad shaped his spiritual foundation. They taught him humility, gratitude, and the idea that life wasn't about success, but connection. Every new place taught him something about himself, and every stranger he met reflected a version of the man he was becoming, untamed, curious, and quietly searching for meaning beyond the surface of things. Chapter 3. Baywatch and the Battle for Identity. In 1999, he landed his first acting role, Baywatch, Hawaii. On paper, it sounded like a dream. In reality, it was a nightmare. He was typecast as the exotic island hunk, the eye candy, not the artist. The world saw abs, not authenticity. But Jason endured. He learned the ropes, studied other actors, and used every moment on set as training. When the show ended, he was broke again. He turned down roles that didn't feel right. He refused to become a stereotype. That decision would cost him years of struggle and ultimately define his career. He began studying filmmaking, writing scripts, and taking acting classes in Los Angeles. Away from the spotlight, he focused on his craft and his personal transformation. The muscles remained, but his mind grew sharper and deeper. He wanted to tell stories that mattered, stories with blood, dirt, and soul. The experience hardened him, teaching him that the hardest battle in Hollywood isn't to get noticed. It's to stay true to yourself when everyone's trying to sell you as something you're not. Chapter 4. Becoming Khal Drogo. 2009 changed everything. Momoa auditioned for Game of Thrones. Without lines, he performed a haka, a traditional Maori war dance, in the audition room. Casting directors were stunned. That day, Jason Momoa became Khal Drogo. His portrayal of the fierce yet tender Dothraki leader in Game of Thrones made him a global phenomenon. It wasn't just the role, it was the presence, the power in his eyes, the vulnerability beneath the violence. Momoa didn't just play Drogo, he was Drogo. Behind the scenes, though, he lived modestly. He and Lisa Bonet were raising their young children in a small house, often without steady income. He would later admit that, after Drogo's death, his phone stopped ringing. Fame had found him, but Hollywood had no idea what to do with him next. And in that silence, he found strength, realizing that true warriors aren't defined by their victories, but by what they do when the world forgets their name. Chapter 5. Years of silence and struggle. After Game of Thrones, Jason couldn't find work. People saw him as the barbarian, the brute, not the artist. He was broke, in debt, and almost gave up acting altogether. But he kept creating. He started directing his own projects. His short film, Road to Paloma, 2014, was his love letter to freedom, justice, and the open road. He sold his car to finance it. He poured his soul into every frame, proving he was more than muscles and myth. Momoa also formed his own production company, Pride of Gypsies, named after his belief in creative nomadism. He surrounded himself with filmmakers, musicians, and artists who shared his wild spirit. Together, they created raw, independent art that rejected Hollywood formulas. It was his rebellion and his rebirth. Every sleepless night behind a camera reminded him that art isn't about applause. It's about leaving fingerprints on something real, something that can outlive you. Chapter 6. Aquaman and the Rise of a King. Then came Aquaman. When Zack Snyder cast him as the DC superhero, the world didn't understand. Aquaman had always been the least respected comic hero. But Momoa changed everything. He turned a joke into a legend, giving Aquaman power, swagger, and soul. The tattoos, the armor, the fury, all mirrored Jason's own Polynesian heritage. The film grossed over $1 billion, and Momoa became a global superstar. But what most fans didn't know was that Momoa fought for authenticity on set. From the character's design to the portrayal of his culture. He wanted Aquaman to represent the warrior spirit of the Pacific, not just another comic book cliché. In doing so, he redefined what a superhero could look and sound like. That film didn't just make him a king of the seas, it crowned him as Hollywood's bridge between myth and man, between strength and soul. Chapter 7. The warrior with a cause. Fame didn't change him. It gave him a platform. Momoa became an activist for ocean conservation and indigenous rights. His documentary Deep Rising exposed corporate greed and deep-sea mining threats. He spoke at the United Nations barefoot, wearing traditional Hawaiian garb, reminding the world that progress means nothing if we destroy the planet. He founded Mananalu, a water company aimed at eliminating plastic pollution. He also collaborated with organizations like Waves for Water and Surf Rider Foundation, personally cleaning beaches, and organizing conservation drives. For him, activism wasn't PR, it was duty. The ocean raised him, and now he was fighting to protect it. Every time he speaks publicly about the environment, his words carry the gravity of someone who has literally lived in rhythm with nature, and that sincerity is why people listen. Chapter 8. The Soul Beneath the Warrior. Behind the laughter and chaos lies a deep thinker. Momoa is open about his struggles with anxiety, his insecurities, and his constant fear of failure. Despite the fame, he remains humble, a man who cries, who laughs loud, who drinks Guinness and hugs strangers. In his own words, the toughest thing you can be is yourself. He pours that truth into his roles, from Sea and Frontier to Dune and Fast X. Every performance is an echo of his heart, wild and imperfect. He's also deeply devoted to his heritage, often performing traditional Hawaiian ceremonies before major shoots or travels. His faith in nature, family, and ancestral wisdom keeps him grounded in a world that thrives on ego. Jason Momoa isn't acting anymore. He's simply living, and the camera just happens to be there. And in that unfiltered honesty, in every scar, every laugh, every roar, lies the secret of his power. He never pretends to be anything other than human. Jason Momoa isn't just a movie star. He's a symbol of freedom, authenticity, and primal artistry in an industry obsessed with perfection. He's living proof that you can be raw and real, spiritual and savage, grounded and grand, all at once. From Hawaii's waves to Hollywood's golden screens, he never stopped being that barefoot boy staring at the ocean, dreaming of something pure. He doesn't act for fame. He acts to feel alive, because for Jason Momoa, the world isn't a stage. It's a playground for the soul. This has been Bio Vault. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this journey, remember to like, share, and subscribe for more stories of the icons who shaped our world.